కొంచెం ఫ్యాన్ ఆఫ్ చేయండి. ఫ్యాన్ ఆఫ్ చేసి yes. Morning, because of problem with the server, we could not continue the class. Now we are speaking about the school health services. Last class we had about introduction and then preliminary things about school health education and how important it is just in the community, as there are various age groups like mother and children, then adolescent age group, school children age group. Likewise, we have geriatric age group. And we have many number of age groups of people, out of which we are speaking about school-going children, that is primary school-going children. They are very important because in the future days, they will occupy the younger age group, productive younger age group. As last time we discussed about the number of productive, young, knowledgeable age group, at least 400 to 500 million youth will be necessary for our country to not only look after themselves, but also the dependents age group, that is less than 14 years and above 65 years. They will be able to look after them also. And in addition to this, our people will go to other countries where our necessity is there, by which we can earn a lot of foreign exchange, and that benefit is also there. That's why this school health, primary school going children from 5 to 14 years is the most important group, and government is taking a lot of interest on this particular age group. You see, the service like rudimentary service, like from medical care to today we are speaking about well-being of the children. We are able to foster the well-being of the children in the schools. How it is possible? You know, the very term well-being, I already told you, is not only an employment and a good house for living. In addition to this, you have freedom of expression. Freedom of expression. That is, particularly when we come to the school children, they need some freedom for to spend time in sports or chit-chatting with their friends, colleagues. So there's a small sort of freedom which we should allow. Then only they will mentally develop, an exchange of knowledge, and many more things will happen if they have freedom of expression. In addition to this, they used to they may spend their time in sports, playing with the peers and other children. The control we should exercise is this: their freedom should not go beyond. You see, in a day, an hour maybe they can spend with physical training teacher for sports and other things. But they cannot go like this for hours and hours, and it's not possible. Then there is a breach of trust. You see, the freedom, there is a breach of trust. So we have to carefully monitor the children with that freedom. That is what is called well-being. Well-being is a very important term. As per the circumstances, we have to use this particular term. In various situations, you see, when you take, in case of the children, they have clearly used this well-being term. Well-being means their parents, they have got employment, they have got a house, and this child needs some freedom. You see, on the other hand, if you say you take adults, as per the Constitution, we have right to speak freedom, but it should be within the limits. Within the limits, we have many examples for that. So, in this context about children, where the child is traveling from rudimentary medical care services to the well-being. So, if you see the history, how this school health services are developed, before independence in 1910, in Baroda city, first these medical services were extended to the medical checkup, and services were extended to the children. Of course, at a later stage, we know Joseph Bohr. A committee was formed by British under his leadership to study the health situation of the country. While doing that particular research, that study, they have recommended that the children are actually malnourished, and there is no any sort of medical aid for them. They badly need health services, and of course, in those days there were no classes, as the modern classes are not there. There is a system of education or something different, where I have already told you the Guru, Shishya, some ashram, so that type of teaching was there. Of course, gradually it was destroyed by the invaders, Muslims, Britishers, etc. Later, there was not much progress in the field of education till the modern education was introduced in way back 1938, I think, Lord Macaulay was introduced. So after that, that was only for a few people, but in rural areas, there was no schools, there were no teaching, etc. So children used to play, or they used to help their parents. Like that, there was no much education. Even then, they also need some medical facilities and nutrition, etc. So they categorically recommend that children need this. The children of India, particularly in rural areas, they need these services. Of course, it was there. But in 1960, again, our government constituted school health committee. They went into all the details, and also there at the board committee report, they said, yes, our children, particularly school-going children, primary school-going children, they need medical care, they need nutrition, they need some sort of health support, etc. So in 1961, they supported that, they submitted a report to the central government. Of course, then we had the planning commission. Every 5 years we used to plan, and then in that plan, they used to include this particular school health services. Of course, there were only token services. Over a period of time, when gradually the school dropouts could be stopped, because a government and then other wise people advised that unless and until the parents of the children are given some social support food, etc. Otherwise, the children are going to fields and here and there to earn some money to look after their parents. That's why there are a large number of school dropouts. So that way we cannot control it. Of course, we have many programs today. We have old age pensions. We have provisions at a fair price shop, very nominal price they are getting. And there is a rural employment scheme is there, rural employment guarantee scheme where women and men can equally work and earn about 300 to 400 rupees a day. So by doing all this, sort of social welfare measures, and then gradually the purchasing capacity of the people also gradually increased. In addition to this, we have BC welfare hostels where parents who cannot look after their children by spending some money, etc., not able to provide a good environment to the house for their studies, etc. Those children can join in social welfare hostels where they will be given free food, accommodation, medical and healthcare facilities, everything. They can prosecute their studies in schools. So like that, a lot of things went on. And now today, the school dropouts enormously reduced. Even there's no exaggeration that 90 to 95% children today are going to the schools. So let us see what are the health problems of the school-going children and what are the objectives of the government and what is the action plan to attend these requirements. The health problems are just like, you see, any community, other people, so they have a malnutrition problem, there is infectious disease problem. Particularly children, there is a problem of high vision, there's a hearing problem, chronic suppurative otitis media, and then skin problems, scabies, etc. And there may be some congenital anomalies at the birth itself, like hair lip, pat, etc. Those can be operated. And then, yes, things like this, these are all the common health problems of the school-going children. And our objective is to see that prevention of diseases, prevention of communicable diseases, promotion of health, early diagnosis and treatment, and like that. These are some of the good objectives for us to improve the health services in the school. You see, there are two departments now. As far as the primary education is concerned, we have medical and health department, we have education department. These two departments work together to improve the health situation of the children. What is the duties that can be enjoined to health department? What are the exclusive duties to be attended by the education department? See, as far as the health is concerned, first of all, when the school and the child admits in the school, it is something like a batch. You see, some 30 or 40 students. First of all, we have to medically examine the student from head to toe. Everything must be examined. That means his nutrition status should be examined, and then about his vision, how is able to see, are there any refractory errors, and then the hearing capability of the child is able to hear, and above all the anthropometric measurements, which are very important for the height to weight and then age to height and weight. So there are anthropometric measurements are there. And then the worms, you see, children usually be suffering from worms infestation. So that we have to make a note of it. So by thorough examination, we will open a book, medical health record book for each child, and then we will enter all our observations on the child. And wherever there are some immediate attention of the doctors is needed, we will try to attend there itself. If it is beyond the purview of the PHC, then it will be, the case will be referred to district hospital. And then whatever the things that are necessary, we will provide free of cost. This is from the side of the health department. And then there shall be, then afterwards, the regular checkups every year must be, the thorough checkup must be there. In addition to, now and wherever time is possible, time permits, the health team shall go and examine the students. In other words, we have for each school, we will have one ANM because it falls in the jurisdiction of one of the ANMs. ANM is always be available there, and the school teacher can observe the student every day when he attends the school about his health condition, and if there is some fever or some problem is there, a child can immediately be taken to ANM, or if we call ANM, ANM will come to school and shift discharge of duties. If there is something to be referred to the medical officer, that child will be taken to PHC, and the medical officer will have personal attention for that particular student. So these are the important things from the medical side. Let us take from school side. You see, in the education department, school side, what they have to provide healthful environment in the school. That is their duty. Healthful environment in school, in the sense, it means that it will be an ideal place for child to psychologically, emotionally grow in that particular atmosphere by exposing sort of emotions, sort of knowledge, gaining some good practices from other children, and whatever they hear from the teachers to imbibe and then conduct in a way the child should conduct. Those things will be learned. It is a cognitive process, and they have to see, and by observing they have to learn these things. That's why we should have a healthful atmosphere. Starting from the situation of the school itself must be far away from the, at least a little bit away from the heavy junctions, a lot of noise at bus stands, railway stations, and some markets. It should be reasonably away from such places. And the placement of the school area, it should be a little bit at a height so that during rains it will not be inundated, and then it will be clean. And the recommended area for a primary school is 5 acres, and then secondary school is secondary grade, after 10th class, intermediate, it is about 10 acres. Of course, why we need this much land is, after construction of the building, class rooms, you will have some certain open area. This particular area will be useful for their play, the physical exercise, and teacher will be there, physical exercise teacher. If, with his help, they will be playing some games, etc., so that they get some physical exercise and also they feel very happy. So that particular area must be there, and there must be trees in the locality for shade, and also as a sort of environment protection measure. Even from that age itself, child should have to understand why these trees should be there. And now and then, when there is some plantation program is going on in the village or that city, some plants will be given by the forest department free of cost. Those plants will be planted with the help of the students, so that they will learn how to plant the tree. And that is the time where they can learn about the function of the tree, what is it, how it protects the environment, etc. Like that, so many things will be learned. The other things are, so there should be some facilities for the students. In the dropouts, when they study, one important cause is there are no toilets in the urinals. That is one important aspect where particularly girl children, it will be very difficult. So you have to provide toilets and urinals. There are about 60 students. There must be one urinal, and 100 students, there shall be one toilet. And male, female, separate toilets and urinals must be constructed. And then there will be thirsty, sometimes they need water. They cannot, if you do not provide potable water, it is very likely that they take some contaminated water and suffer from gastrointestinal problems, etc. So you have to provide potable water in the school itself. So like this, the school also has got certain responsibilities. And another one is, while maintaining the health records of each student, it must be kept by the school in the custody of headmaster, and whenever there is a necessity, whenever there is a school health checkup by the primary health center medical officer, then only they should be made available. And other times they have to be given a separate place where all the alphabetical number they shall be kept in a nice order. So whenever they want, they can pick up the student and they can have the earlier health condition, and that will help the doctor to come to a conclusion. So this is another important function of the school. If these functions are attended by both the departments, then another important function is the school health administration and how it can be sustained, for a long time. Unless and until, you see, ours is a still developing country, we cannot have a separate, just like corporate schools, you cannot have a consultant, a doctor, consultant dentist, or consultant ophthalmologist. Like that, it will be a very costly business. So in the government service, for the general public in rural areas, what we should do is, these services must be integrated with the existing healthcare services. That is, what is it? Primary health center is the first healthcare center, comes in the jurisdiction of the school. So then from the primary health center, you have community health centers, you have district hospitals. Yes, till such time, till that state of health, medical institutions hierarchy, it will be usually sufficient for all the general health problems of the children. So we have a pakka system of healthcare system. So there is every likelihood and possibility for the child to have a full holistic health as long as he studied in the school. In addition to this, midday meal program is there. Midday meal program. Each child will be provided almost 1/3 calories of his requirement every day, and half of the proteins, because it is quite likely that in all rural areas, the malnutrition is, particularly in children, is very high, very high. And the child stays in the school more than half a day, particularly during the active time, all the daytime, he is in the school. So he has to be substituted with some food, nutritious food. So in that context, we have this midday school meal program. Good nutritious food supplied to children. So like that, we have this school health services. Finally, our aim is to see that there are no school dropouts. For instance, when one child is even including disabled children, they should also be admitted in the school, and there shall not be any dropout. We have to make separate arrangements for them. Whatever the additional requirement is there for them, we have to arrange and see that they also stick on to the schools. So like that, what happens is 5 to 14-year children, all children will be in the school, all people will be productive, even including handicapped children, because their service will be utilized in somewhere where their disability will not come in the way. Such jobs are there. You can definitely provide those jobs, and they will not become a financial burden to the community. They will work in that particular field, and at least to look after themselves without any dependence on others. So if we do this, what happens is all the children will be productive children. They will grow, they will become young, they will acquire knowledge, they will acquire knowledge in professional fields, semi-skilled, skilled. So every youth, male or female, without any difference in the gender, they will be productive for our country. Then, as our Honorable Prime Minister says, collective responsibility and inclusive growth. Collective responsibility includes. When it happens, if you take this type of the sort of action, then only it will happen. It is not the development from the above, it is from the below. You see, these people who are living in rural areas also integrated into the development of the nation. So they will also have an equal participation, like highly skilled and knowledgeable people, business people, big administrative officers. In their own level, they will do it. But what happens in the ground? At ground level also, we need so many people, so many skilled workers, semi-skilled workers, etc. They also work for the community. Then it will be an inclusive growth. There will be participation, and also they will also grow along with the nation, along with other people. So for this particular purpose, the school health services is mandatory, and we have to give the necessary importance. We will see, I will show you some small slides so that you have better remembrance. What I said is a gist. Definitely it will be useful, and then you will remember. But for better remembrance, I will also show you some. Last time we have seen this, how the school dropouts are happening. You see, there is child labor. To be very frank, we cannot call them as a child labor. I have already told you, because they are looking after their parents, because their parents are sick, they are bedridden. So they, in their place, they are going and doing some work in the evening time. They purchase some food grains and they look after their parents. So we cannot call it as child labor. Now you see, in school children, this is measles. We have a national immunization program. Measles is a very important vaccine which is given to the children between 9 months and 1 year, and it protects the child from the measles. Measles is per se, it's not a dangerous disease, but what happens is it leads the child vulnerable to other infections. It leads to malnutrition, it leads to lack of resistance in the child, succumb to many infections. So measles under any circumstances shall be controlled. nowadays, because of the large coverage of this national immunization schedule, actually these cases are coming down, but still in some places where there is outbreak of this measles, that means the national immunization schedule is not being exercised in a way we expect. So there we have to pin down the that particular medical officer and other staff members, paramedical staff members. So this is diphtheria. Diphtheria is a very risky infection, very dangerous infection to the child. There will be 90% mortality. And these things should not come, because for the last so many years, so many decades, we have been giving this immunization coverage. If there are some outbreaks, that means our staff are not working properly. It's an indication. As the worms, children. The reason for this intestinal worms is purely personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is the main cause. Children will be playing because these are all soil-borne elements. They'll be in the soil. The fingers and other clothes, etc., is a fomites, and if there is no proper washing of hands, naturally these worms in the shape of eggs, etc., will enter into the gastrointestinal system, and the child will be suffering from the worm infestation. For this particular worm infestation, you see, every year we have, in the month of November, we have mass drug administration against filariasis. Along with it, for children, albendazole 400 milligram tablet as a single dose. Every year we have been giving, and slowly this infection is coming down nowadays. It is very rare to see the worms now. Another one is the skin infection. It's called scabies. It is by an insect. It shows this type of infection. Usually it will be between the clefts of the fingers. It will make a small burrow, and then under this burrow it will take rest, and then it will be spread from person to person. There is no personal hygiene through the clothes, etc. It will be transmitted person to person. In a house, if one child is having, all the children will have. Because in olden days, we used to have a system where all the clothes are subjected for boiling in the water with caustic soda. And now that system is not in use. We are using these sophisticated powders, detergent powders. That's why we are not boiling the cloth. Unless and until without boiling of the clothes, these insects will not die. Insects will not die. So this indicates overcrowding, then lack of proper hygiene. Regular bathing, regular bathing is there. Regular washing of hands is there. These pests cannot survive in a human being. Wherever the personal hygiene is poor, naturally these infections will be prevailing. You see, this is the child is examined for his vision. You see, the child is not able to read these letters like any other children. 6/6 vision is not there. So probably there is some refractive errors. What happens with the refractive error? Child will not be able to express to his parents or teachers. He will not be able to see distant objects. Whatever is written on the board, he cannot read. And slowly, over a period of time, he develops headache, etc. And if he goes to the closer to the board, his friends will be mocking at him. So gradually, what happens is the child may not be able to express what is happening, or he will drop out from the school. So in first examination by the school health services, this is the most important and fundamental test, vision. Likewise, you see, ear infection. Many a time you have this sort of fungal infection in the ear. Later, the eardrum will be affected by chronic suppurative otitis media. And slowly he develops hearing loss, conductive hearing loss. And he will not be able to hear what the teacher is teaching. So he will also be a candidate for dropout. So we have to carefully examine the ears. And then if there's wax is there, the wax is to be removed by ceramic, etc., cleaning of the ear. So these two are the very important health measures to be taken for the school children. Likewise, you have teeth. Caries teeth is very common because children eat a lot of starchy food, etc. That will be stick onto the teeth, and if there is no proper brushing, the bacteria will not be wiped out, washed out. So naturally what happens is during night time it will settle out the dentin and then gums, etc. The periodontitis and caries teeth. The problem is the child will not be able to chew the food, and there will be pain in the jaws. So it causes a lot of inconvenience to the child. So we have to, during examination, we have to examine the teeth, and proper advice shall be given for brushing of the teeth. And then if there is a problem, we have to only available treatment is extract the teeth. Of course, nowadays we have a root canal treatment, though it is costly, very time consuming. There is no need for extraction of the teeth. We can preserve the teeth. So the prevention is proper brushing of the teeth, and then while going to bed, thoroughly cleanse the mouth, and then they go to bed. That particular health tip is given to the child, and child is impressed. The child is liable to follow your advice, and the caries tooth will be controlled. This is it is a school where every year annual examination will be conducted with the medical officer. So all the children, first of all, in the school health record, their particulars will be written, particularly the anthropometric measurements, etc., will be taken by the paramedical people, and ultimately after the case sheet filled up one by one, they will go to doctor. As per the necessity, medicines will be prescribed, and also, if necessary, referral services, etc., will be arranged. This is a healthful school atmosphere, what I have already told you. This is a primary school where you need 5 acres of land. You see the beautiful trees are there, the entire premises is very clean, there's no littering. And see the children, how playful, how joyful they are. This type of atmosphere is very highly important for the children. This type of playful things are there, they will never try to drop out from the school. It's very attractive. And of course, at the same time, we should also see that they continue their reading books. Along with it, they will also be allowed to take some leisure and play in the ground. By which they will be learning many things. You see, solid waste management, littering. The teacher can tell them if they consume some biscuit packets, biscuits, or some chocolates, the wrappers, etc. There shall be one dustbin is there somewhere, and some corner it will be there. The children should take that particular chocolate wrapper and then put it only in the bin. They should not throw it anywhere at the ground. So like that, they'll be learning about the environmental sanitation, environmental health. The seeds will be shown even at that age itself, so that they will understand the things in better way. See, in addition to this, the school rooms spacious schoolroom. See, they are provided with furniture, beautiful benches where they can sit comfortably, they can read like this. And then this is a very congenial atmosphere for the children to read, to study, along with other colleagues. It will give a lot of enthusiasm and interest for them. So they will not be any dropouts if you provide such facilities. For writing, see how difficult it is if this bench is not there to sit on the ground and has to bend onto the ground and take the notes. That's very difficult thing, and it is very inconvenient to the student. So this type of furniture, if you provide, naturally there will not be any dropouts from the schools. And then you see, children, they need at least, because entire day they will be spending in the school, they need at least 1 liter of water, half liter to 1 liter of water. Where they get it? You see, if you do not supply, either they suffer from thirstiness or consume water from unsafe source. If you provide this type of system, clean water, potable water, they will be able to drink the water, and at the same time, they will be able to understand when teacher says that water contamination leads to many communicable diseases like diarrhea, dysentery, typhoid, amoebiasis, etc. How they are being transmitted, what are the other waterborne diseases. So all these things they will be able to understand, better understand the student age itself. Then this is one of the most important item of the school for healthful environment. These are the urinals, these are the toilets. These are low cost provisions. You see, there is no need to spend lakhs of rupees on these toilets and urinals. With the low cost material, you can build and keep them clean, so that particularly for girl children, there will be privacy and there is no need for them to drop from the school. So this is the responsibility of the education department. They have to provide. Now, another important program as far as the nutrition concern is in school children. Like this midday school meal program is going on everywhere now in a very systematic and methodical way. They supply one egg also with this food. So it gives half of the protein requirement of the child and 1/3 of the calories of the requirement, daily requirement. See, if they take this, this is a full meal. This is a full meal for a child. Usually in the morning they provide. So in the house, though their parents are poor and they consume millets, units of pulses and etc., then that in addition to this meal, that substitution from the house, to a large extent it will be sufficient. With that motto, actually this midday school meal program was started for all the ill-nourished and malnourished children. Thinking, giving a benefit at a larger scale that all children, particularly in rural areas, are malnourished. They will not be able to feed their child to full quantity of calories and proteins they require. And this is a very encouraging factor for the children to attend the school. There is no question of any dropouts. So this is, UNICEF is coming in a big way to help our primary schools. In fact, they are providing necessary implements and then inputs for kitchen gardens to be grown in primary school premises, because it's 5 acres of land. Some land will be there, that particular land can be used for kitchen garden, and whatever the output from the kitchen garden can be again be used for the same school children. And the children will be able to practically know about the plantation and the usefulness of the plants, if there are some something like vegetarian tomatoes, brinjals, etc. From those things, how much protein they can give, how many calories we can extract from that particular fruit, etc. The nutritive value of all the foodstuffs also they can learn from the this particular kitchen garden, and as narrated by the teacher to them. And other thing is they also supply these first aid kits. Actually, all the school teachers at the time of the training, they will be given some sort of first aid training, because entire day children will be there, anything may happen at any time. There will be some accidents, there will be small injuries. Immediately they should not become panicky, and if there is a small injury, they can immediately attend with this particular first aid kit by putting a pressure bandage, etc. So the training will be given to the teachers, they will be taken care of. Meanwhile, they send a word to doctor from primary health care center, or the ANMs or other paramedical staff who can come and attend. So this is another thing. This is from the education department side. And now half of all mental illness begin before age of 14. That's what is that. You see, what happens is in many houses, in particularly urban slums and also in villages, usually the mother and father will be fighting. There will be strife in the house. The poor child will not understand why mother and father are fighting with each other. Every day, father is beating mother. This sort of because this is a very sensitive mind at that age, tender age. They'll be wondering why this thing is going on. They will develop enmity towards father, sometimes towards mother. And that enmity, it grows in subconscious level. Ultimately, what happens is they will not be able to adjust with the community itself. They will show some mental aberrations at a later age. That's why, not only that, just for example, I have told you, doing many more things. Only psychologists will be able to help them if their scholastic performance is low. When giving counseling to that particular child, they may slowly get the information from the child, why he is not able to concentrate on studies, what sort of subconscious level thoughts disturbing him, etc. They will try to slowly extract them and try to give counseling. And definitely they will be able to bring the child back to the normal stage. So one psychologist attendance is very much important. Of course, for all children, there is no need for this sort of counseling. For those children who are suffering from this, maybe 1% or less than 1%, such children as a whole, a time and a date may be fixed in either school or primary health center. The psychologist or a clinical psychiatrist may be called to examine the children and give counseling, if necessary, some medication, and periodical examination to bring them to normal. So, and again, you see, here the child, the caries, dental caries problem is very common in children, as I already told you. So, a dentist is examining, and there is a dental hygienist. There is no need for even dental doctors. So dental hygienist is sufficient to talk to the children with counseling, how do they have to protect their teeth, what are the reasons for caries. Like that, they will be able to give some health education to the children. And if there is a dire necessity, either extraction of the teeth or dental canal treatment can be arranged for the children, and that will be entered into their book, health card. Like that, you see vision. I already told you, that is how important is the vision. This vision and hearing, these two are the very important capabilities for a child to stick on to reading and obtain knowledge from the books. Any inconvenience in these two things, child performance will fall down. For a period of time, the child may not be able to express what is happening, but when comparing his peers and friends, his colleagues, he'll be at a very low position. He'll be backward. He becomes backward. For a period of time, he develops aversion to the school, and there will be a dropout. That's why this particular refraction errors, finding a refraction error and immediately prescribing the lens for correction. And then other things like, you see, health education. Now and then these PHC paramedical staff will be there, or even school teachers are also sufficient sometimes, because they will get this sort of training during their initial period. So at least some once in a month, once in a 15 days like that, they can give the health tips, health education to the parents and the children of the school children and their parents regarding the nutritious foods, low-cost foods which are really nutritious. There is no need for going only for non-vegetarian, which is very costly, and equally there are pulses and vegetables, green leafy vegetables, and then locally available fruits like guava. These are very cheap variety. Instead of going for apples, etc., they are very costly. These locally available fruits also give vitamins, just like those costly fruits. So consuming the fruits, leafy vegetables, which gives iron, rich source of iron, and then vitamin A. So all these things by health education. And another most important thing is personal hygiene, keeping hands clean. So ultimately what happens is, how the human being, child or adult or young, how they are getting infected, particularly in the gastrointestinal system, through these fingers. The fingers are best fomites, because we touch so many things, advertently and inadvertently also we will be touching many things. If you go to a toilet, you will, you may not actually go to a toilet, but you will just touching the knob. That knob is, that is also formed, that will transmit, that will have the capacity of retaining the microorganism on it and live for some time. And if somebody puts his finger, it can transmit to the fingers, and then on the fingers it can live for some time. And without washing the fingers and hand, if you put it in the mouth, they will enter into the gastrointestinal system. So one of the most important thing nowadays is thorough hand washing. Thorough hand washing. You see, recently, even during our COVID also, we had at least sanitize the hands, so 6 to 7 times, or as many number of times as possible. We have to wash your hands. So that particular very healthy habit must be shown to the children, and at this age itself, they should realize the importance of hand wash, so that the worms infestation I have already told you, that it can totally be avoided. Many communicable diseases like typhoid, gastroenteritis, amoebiasis, one of the most important. These infections can easily be prevented by thorough washing of the hands. And of course, we should not forget about this group, handicapped group. We should never think that this particular handicapped children or handicapped people is a burden to the society. We should never think of that. They should also be made productive. As I have already told you, they should be integrated along with other general school children. They may not be able to play like those children, but they have got their own indoor games. They can play and they can derive pleasure on those particular things. And at the same time, because their faculties are good, their cognitive functions are good, they can see, they can hear, they can talk, they can read, in which way they are except physically, in that too in only in certain aspects. And otherwise they are excellent. They can move with the general public and they can attend their own duties. So they have to be provide some placement in the general public so that they will not be become a burden. And this one, this is very large. What is this? This is a bureau-like thing where all the school health records, see how neatly they have kept them one by one, probably alphabetically, so that no health record of any child should be missed or misplaced. It shall always be available. And that card from the primary school itself, it goes to the higher studies. And as long as, to the extent possible, we have to have this health profile of the student, so that it makes a lot of help. Sometimes it will help in some of the congenital diseases, some metabolic disorders, etc. There will be a lot of very good information to the specialists when they go through the record. So it's very important. It is the responsibility of the school health management to keep the records in very careful handling and place. And whenever necessary, they must be able to retrieve that particular information and show it to the people. So, so you see, this is the one of the most important topics we have completed as far as the school health is concerned. So once upon a time, school health, there's not much importance, you see. For some time, it was only midday school meal for children. Since the school they are providing food, there used to be many poor families, particularly in villages, not able to give 2 meals a day to their children. So they used to send to the school for meals. And as far as the teaching is concerned, there are no proper teachers, there are no proper teaching, and no much progress in school health services or school dropouts. All these things, when it came to a severe and important grip, we felt necessity of that important grip is, unless and until starting from the primary school at this stage, all those children who are eligible for the primary school attendance, that is 5 to 14 years, when we brought the Act, Right to Education Act, and see that all the children should get admitted in the primary schools. A child from 5 to 14 years shall not appear anywhere on the street or in the house or in the field or in the cultivation fields. No, during the schooling hours, they shall be there in the school only, so that all these children with one go, they will go to higher studies. Later, they will go to universities and then highly skillful studies like computer software, and then doctors, sometimes skilled people in IIT, ITI, and then polytechnic courses are there. Those people are also, nowadays the plumbers, electricians, carpenters, there's a lot of demand for them because of the enormous growth of the cities and housing constructions. We need all these people. So there's no need to all the people to become software engineers and doctors. So these people also are useful. In fact, they are all working in many Middle East countries. Middle East countries. So they're really sort of boon to our country in foreign exchange, and also support the dependent age group, that is less than 14 years and above 65 years, in addition to look after themselves. So for these particular important aspects, nowadays we are giving a lot of importance for the school health services. So with this, we have completed school health services. We will meet in the next class.